Listening Library presents Porch Lies by Patricia McKissack. Read for you by Pamella DePella, Adenrele Ojo, and Mirron Willis. Author's Note: Whippoorwills, lightning bugs, and homemade peach ice cream trigger memories of my childhood summers spent at my grandparents' house in Nashville, Tennessee. The squat white-framed house at 3706 Centennial, next to the Tennessee State University power plant, sat comfortably on the property as if it was resting in an easy chair. Looking at the house from a distance, I always imagined that the two side windows, the center door, and the sagging porch formed a big happy face, smiling a welcome to me when I rode my bicycle down the long front walk. Skipping up 5 steps placed me in my favorite spot, the porch swing. There I could read for hours or listen to someone tell a story about sneaky foxes or things that went bump in the night. I spent a lot of time listening in those days. In the evenings, when dinner was done, the dishes washed, and the dish towels hung out to dry, my grandparents, Mama Frances and Daddy James, spent the rest of the evening on the porch. Sometimes, if there was a baseball game, Mama Frances hooked up the radio in the living room window so we could listen to the play-by-play in the cool. We were loyal fans of the Brooklyn Dodgers, the first major league team to sign a black player, Jackie Robinson. We all cheered loudly each time Jackie came to bat, and we never missed a game. Sometimes there was a Marian Anderson or a Mahalia Jackson concert on, and while my grandmother listened, my grandfather and I were forbidden to say a word. "Shh," Mama Frances whispered, as if she was actually in Carnegie Hall and didn't want us to disturb anyone. "Listen," she told me, "and remember the sound of greatness." On those hot summer evenings, it was not uncommon for family members, friends, and neighbors to drop by for a visit. Some were invited, and others just stopped when they saw us sitting out front. My grandmother always had a pitcher of lemonade or iced tea and homemade tea cakes prepared for all visitors. Some of these visitors loved to tell stories, or porch lies as we called them, tales of humor and exaggeration told to listeners of all ages gathered together on the porch. When the teller's eyes grew mischievously large and bright, and his or her hands became as animated as a puppeteer's, we knew that a porch lie was in the making. Mama Frances always welcomed us kids to join the circle of grown-ups, with the strict understanding that we were to remain unobtrusive. Somehow we managed to sit still in spite of our excitement. The radio was shut off, and all we could hear was the melodic sound of a storyteller's voice. I was especially delighted when the story was a slickster trickster tale about some wily character who used his wits to outsmart his opponents. I like to think of each of these slicksters as a cross between a Mississippi bluesman and Brer Rabbit, though there were a few women as well. And whether it was some fast or slow-talking, a well-dressed city slicker, or an innocent-looking country bumpkin, all were gifted with a silver tongue tarnished by an oily reputation. No matter how bad these characters seemed, however, they managed to charm their victims and disarm their critics with just enough humor to take the edge off their unscrupulousness. Among the many porch lies I heard, the most memorable were about Pete Bruce, a man my grandfather knew in the 1920s. Pete was sly and devilish, but always funny. Whenever we were unsure of ourselves, or when our ever-changing world collided with our concepts of justice and honesty, Daddy James would summon up Pete Bruce. He used Pete Bruce as a vehicle to teach a value, to encourage us to think critically, or just to entertain us by putting a little joy in an otherwise gray day. And that is my intent, too. Although these stories contain the essence